Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue à les Jeux olympiques du monde. Je m'appelle Rebecca. Je suis votre hope aujourd'hui. Good to see everyone out there in LinkedIn land. I hope that you are having a really good Tuesday. Really, I think it's Tuesday. That's why I hiccuped. I think it's Tuesday. If someone can confirm in the chat, confirm or deny. I'm not sure if it's Tuesday or Wednesday, full disclosure. Welcome to the Sales Olympics. This is going to be day 5, July 30th. If you didn't notice already, the real quote unquote Olympics is in the background. So I haven't noticed one thing about the Olympics here in Paris, en Paris. They show a lot of fencing. Fencing is a very big sport for the French. So I'm digging it. So we're going to jump in here. So anyone who is in the chat, who is watching there live, good morning to all, to everyone who is, okay, I got Tuesday. It is in fact Tuesday. We are confirmed. If you could jump in the chat, if you're live with us, introduce yourself, tell me what your name is, where you're coming from, why you showed up today, other than, you're commuting in for all those who have to go in person maintenant. So we're going to be kicking off today. There's Lori. Hi, Kirsten. How's it going? Mari, rock on. I think that's how Mari led last time, as he said rock on. Very strong entrance. So today we are going to be covering a really, really fun topic. The main topic is impact. What is an impact? And what is the difference between all of the impact and all the things that we discussed yesterday? So we got someone in from Scotland. Is it Ian or is it Ian? You probably have gotten that question quite a lot now that I'm saying it. But there's a IAIN. I hope it's Ian, that I didn't blow credibility already. So we're going to jump in today. So just as a reminder, this is going to be the 4x400 relay. And what I mean by that is we're going to be doing 4 laps, so to speak, with 400 seconds apiece, but all on the main actual driver, main topic of what is an impact. So let's go ahead and let's jump in for today. So lap 1 is going to be what is an actual impact. So yesterday in the previous sessions that we've gone into, we've covered a number of different topics, but I wanted to couch those first before we go into impact. So we've covered a leading indicator, a leaning indicator, and a lagging indicator. Leading being before the game, leaning being during the game that you measure it, lagging being after the game. So football match, it would be the formation you put your team in. The leaning would be possession of the ball, percentage you're possessing the ball. And the lagging being, did you win the game? How many points did you score? The second topic that we covered was what is a business problem, tactical problem, and root cause. So when you think lagging, think business problem, leaning, think tactical problem, and leading, think root cause. So the only difference between this side of the house, business problem, tactical problem, and root cause, and a lagging, leaning, and leading indicator is which ones do you need to change for this persona and by how much in order to solve the business problem and affect the driving impact. So in the football match example, the leading indicator is the formation you're putting your team in. Right now it's at a 4-4-2. You need to go to a 4-3-3. So that's the root cause. The leaning indicator is you want to go from 30% possession time of the ball to 60% possession time. That's a tactical problem. So you're going to go from whatever I said, 30% to 60%. So it's a 30% change in possession rate. And the business problem, is attached to the lagging indicator. So the lagging indicator is France is playing England. I'm going to be very careful here. Now that I see people coming in the chat, we've got a lot of international visitors. France is playing England. Let's say that France has lost, hypothetically, that they've lost to England in the past, 1-3. And so the business problem is they want to score 4 goals to surpass England in the match. So root cause is 4-4-2 to a 4-3-3. Tactical problem is going from 30 to 60% possession rate. And business problem is I want to go from scoring 1 goal to 4 goals so I can beat England. So that's a business problem. The impact, though, is what happens because of the business problem. And this is why someone always solves something, is going to be anchored to an impact. So let's give an example and see if people can guess. Let's take a sales rep, for instance. The business problem is they're behind quota. They're at 50K, they need to be 200K. What might happen to a rep because they are behind their quota 50K to 200K? So if y'all could jump into the chat, what might a current impact be, something that's negative, that's happening to them in specific because they are behind quota 150K? So it's anything that's resulting as or coming as a result of the business problem. So in this case, let's see if anyone can guess one. What's a current impact or a future impact that would happen to the person? There, Kirsten already got, yep, there we go. James and Kirsten, gold medal start. Shared gold medal. There are shared gold medals in the Sales Olympics. We're much more inclusive here. James and Kirsten both got it, and Murray got it. We got a triple gold medal. So James got another one on the income. So the current impact could be, okay, James got another one. Man, y'all are rattling them off in here. So he said, you can't pay your bills. So that's a current impact, is you can't pay your bills. A current impact of, from the persona perspective, might be you get put on a PIP. But the future impact is, to Mari's point, James's point, Kirsten's point, that you might lose your job because you're behind it. Let's see if anyone can guess. James said, you can't pay your bills. That's a current impact. I'm at 50K quota from 200K quota. The current impact is I'm not able to pay my bills. What would a future impact of that be if that were to continue happening? What might happen to the person if they can't pay their bills and this continues as is? They're at 50K of quota. They need to be at 200K. Because of that, they can't pay their bills. That's a current impact thing that's happening to them. What's the future impact that might happen to them if they still cannot pay their bills for the next, whatever, 5-6 months? They're defaulting on cell phone bill and internet bill. And James nailed it. And Kirsten nailed it. And James nailed it again. This is like I've never seen people win so many gold medals so quickly. So they said, you lose your house. So you default on your mortgage so long, you lose your house. So the reason why, what someone's changing is a root cause. So they're changing the amount of questions they're asking in discovery. The leading indicator is their conversion to close one is 6% into they need to go to 30%. So that's what they'd see as a leading indicator. The business problem that they're trying to solve is their 50K to 200K quota. So what they're going to change is the root cause to see solve the tax problem, to solve the business problem. But why they're trying to solve that is the impact. So to everyone's point in here, we got Ashley. What's up, Ashley? MJ. I called him MJ back in the day. He's in UK. Sorry about the England reference. But you get fired. You have to lose your house. You have to, let's say that the market's really bad. So that is why I'm going to go through all of that trouble to solve the business problem. So there's a lot of pain and change. There's a pain to change your root cause. There's a pain to see that through the tactical problem. There's a pain to solve the business problem. But once that pain is less than the impact that will happen to them if they don't, that's when they're going to start to mobilize to actually solve for it. That is lap one. Brilliant, y'all. I am blown away. So the first lap, just in summary, is what is an impact? And that is where the business problem, the pain of the business problem, comes into connection with someone. It's where it actually runs into the person and mobilizes them. So I want you to think of almost like there's a basketball, right? And it's going to stay static until an outside force comes in. So here's the soccer ball. and a person comes in with their outside foot and hits the soccer ball, this is the point of the impact, and it mobilizes them. It mobilizes the buyer, it's the soccer ball, mobilizes them to actually do something about it. So the point of contention, the impact, that's the driving impact, the thing, the driving force that is mobilizing them away from being static into the pain of changing something so that they can avoid the pain of something else. So that is an impact. Now we're going to go into lap 2. That's a long baton handoff, longest one in history. So there are 3 types of impact that you can incur. There's current and future state for both of these. The first one is going to be a persona impact. So this is, how does this business problem affect me as a persona within my role? Or how does it affect me within my personal life? So actually, all the examples that y'all gave here, which were brilliant, they were personal ones. They were persona ones. So the first half on the job is that they are currently on a PIP. That's the current persona impact. And that the future impact of that would be they're going to be let go. And then on the personal side, they are defaulting on their bills. So if they default on their mortgage for 5 or 6 months more, they are likely going to lose their home. And let's say that they have kids. Let's say that they're young kids. This is their first house, so it's going to hurt their credit score. So all of those things are going to add to that persona impact. But essentially, it's something either within their role or within their personal life that business problem is affecting. So there is going to be in any case scenario, there has to be a driving impact. And what a driving impact is out of a persona impact, a horizontal impact, which we're going to go into next, or a vertical impact, whichever one of these, when it hits a tipping bar, that's when the persona is going to decide to actually do something about it. So someone's going to solve for this always based on the future impact becoming true. The current impact is just a litmus test that they believe that it's going to happen. So they're going to solve for this based on the level, the size of that persona impact, or the likelihood that they believe that future impact is going to become true if they stay as is. So if there is no impact, if it's bereft of impact, I'm never going to solve the actual business problem. So I want y'all to imagine, if y'all go into the chat, I want y'all to imagine that you were behind quota. You're behind quota by, let's say you're at 80K and you need to be 100K. But nothing's going to happen to you. Meaning you're the kind of culture, you're the top of the leaderboard out of all the reps, sadly. Your boss is warming up to you because you are top of the leaderboard. You don't have a culture of firing anyone. You actually, in history, have a culture of promoting people who are at 80K versus 100K in quota. So there's nothing that you believe will happen to you from the persona perspective. And on the personal perspective, you can pay all your bills just fine. You can pay your mortgage just fine. You have 50% disposable income. My question is, if you go into the chat, would you likely solve for that 80K to 100K gap? Nothing's going to happen to you internally. You'll probably get promoted just fine. And nothing's going to happen to you from the personal perspective. You're single, you have no kids, no one's depending on you, 50% disposable income, you can buy everything that you want. There's nothing from the personal perspective that you really want that you're not able to afford. You pay your cell phone bill just fine, your computer bill just fine. So James nailed it. No, I'm not going to. So without an impact here, someone's going to stay static because you have to keep in mind to solve the root cause and change the root cause, and change the tactical problem and solve for the business problem, there is a lot of pain in that. So unless there's a pain that's bigger than solving for that, the person's going to stay as is. So when it comes to persona impacts, the big question enters. I hear reps say all the time, what questions do I ask? So I'm going to push you away from one thing today, challenge you to stop doing one thing, and then challenge you to start doing one thing. The thing I would stop is the self-diagnosis questions. What's the impact to you if you don't change? If the buyer tells you, and they're correct, there is no value to you. There is no value of you being in the room. So they might not know what the impact is to them. Actually, that's where your expertise is the only place that your expertise can enter, is if they didn't know something. So instead of asking, what's the impact to you from a persona level, I can ask other questions to size that up, something they do know and something that they don't know. So for the persona impact, for instance, if I was going after, are they going to lose their job? I'd say, how many reps do you have on the team? We got 20 reps. And where is everybody at in terms of quota attainment? Where are you at in terms of the ranking? Oh, I'm top of the leaderboard. Okay, how long have you been top of the leaderboard? I've been top of the leaderboard for 6 months. I'm like, yeah, there's no persona impact. Or meaning on the job side. Another question I can ask is, if you don't mind me asking, what's the role that you want to go on to next? Do you want to be an AE? Do you want to be CSM? They're like, oh, well, I really want to be an AE. What steps have you made to get there? Oh, well, they're already putting me in a training program basically to become an AE. What do you have to hit to become the AE, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, well, they just said I need to maintain my quota rate and that I need to train to onboarding SDRs. So like, there you go. There is no from the job impact level. I didn't ask them, what's the impact? Is there an impact? Is there something big enough to solve for? I asked them a number of different questions to help me understand without needing to ask them dead on if they have that impact. On the personal level, I would ask one question. If you don't mind me asking, how much of your income is disposable? They're like, 50%. I'm like, they don't have a problem. So there is no persona impacts. That's the first type of impact. So impact, in summary, impact is something that's going to mobilize you to buy. And the first type of impact that we covered was persona impact. What happens to them in their role? Now we're going to fire up the questions. So Justin, James, MJ, Maury, Ian, Kirsten, everyone. This is where I need you. I need you. So lap 3 is going to be a second type of impact. So persona is what happens to them in their role, or what happens to them from a personal perspective. Horizontal impact is what happens to the teams horizontal to them because the business problem exists. So in the SDR example, let's say that I am booking 3 meetings and my quota is 10 meetings. So there is a 7-meeting business problem. That's what I would need to change. That's what the size of the business problem is that I need to book 7 additional meetings per month to hit my quota. What are the horizontal teams horizontal to me? And what might happen to those teams because I am behind my booked meetings quota? So I'm behind my booked meetings quota. I'm only booking 3, but I need to be at 10. Who might be affected by that? What other team might not be so happy that I am not booking as many meetings as I need to be for my quota? Who would get pissed? There you go. Kirsten already got it. There you go. James and Kirsten both got it. Y'all are brilliant. Y'all are seriously interrupted to you by Starbucks. My nephew bought this for me. He said, he calls me Ampy. He said, Ampy's fancy because she lives in France now. So I bought her this cup. So Justin got it. Everyone's getting it here in the chat. So the teams horizontal to me, one of them would be the account executives. So because I'm missing my booked meetings of 3 meetings to 10, more of the sales reps are actually not hitting their quota. So a current impact might be that the AEs are behind quota, or a certain amount of AEs have been put on a PIP because of it. A future impact of that might be that they might have to lay off several of the AEs. An impact of that might be AMs and RMs aren't doing so hot either because they're geared on upsell or cross sell. Or CSMs are also struggling because they're KPI'd on the amount that they can cross sell and upsell. And we don't have enough new clients and fresh blood for them to be able to do that. So they're behind their quota. Let's go a non-sales related example. So let's go HR. HR, the lagging indicator is employee retention or jobs filled, open job recs versus jobs filled. So let's pick the latter. Let's say that there are 100 job recs that have been released this year, and the HR leader has only been able to fill 20 of them. So the business problem is 80 filled job recs. That's the business problem. What other teams might be affected because the HR leader cannot fill those job recs? What other teams would struggle because the HR leader is behind on 80 job recs? What would the horizontal impact of that be? Is a question in the chat. So let's see if everyone's still with me. I'm going to go into another example in a minute. But so there are 20 job recs. They're supposed to be at 100. So there are 80 open positions they haven't been able to fill. What teams would be affected by that, and how would they be affected is the question on deck. So when I'm asking questions, so here's one. So Justin Ding doing more workload on business to fulfill the demand. So the HR persona impact is likely their team is more exhausted. So they might see internal churn to their team. Extra job load, CEO no fuel for the yacht for the week. So I'd be thinking, okay, so here's some bumped in here. People might have to work overtime to get the workload done. So for example, I would ask the question to the HR leader, okay, so you have an 80 job gap here. You have 80 recs that you haven't been able to fill. If you don't mind me asking, what departments were those supposed to go on? So if they're like, okay, well, 20 of them were supposed to go to the sales team, 10 were supposed to go to customer success, and 50 were supposed to go to the product team. I would then start asking indicator questions about the product team. I'd be like, how many products have they released this year? They released 2. If you don't mind me asking, how many products were they supposed to release? They were supposed to release 25. So now I understand there's a horizontal impact that's going to be created of the product leaders. Lagging indicator is the amount of products that come out, or bugs, critical bugs that are in the product. So they have a space between they were supposed to release 25 products, but they've only released 2. Or they were supposed to release products without bugs, but they didn't have enough time because they didn't have enough developers. So there was not enough beta tests that were run, so a bug came into play. So for instance, in the CrowdStrike example, the problem they were trying to solve was not more time, more money, save time, save money. The problem that product leader was likely trying to solve, that they ran into an impact, is they did not have enough developer headcount to be able to run enough beta tests to get rid of the critical bug that caused a outage huge in the market. So an impact that happened to that product leader was the mess that we were all in. Now CrowdStrike is going to be known at universities across the globe, I'd imagine, for quite a while as what went wrong in this business case. So that's big enough for that product leader to solve. So that's a horizontal impact of the HR leader's business problem. I couldn't fill over the 50 developers. So this product team was running behind because they couldn't get, enough steam, enough headcount behind developing the products. And so because of that, there was 18 bugs per product as opposed to 2 bugs per product, or they were only able to run 2 beta tests instead of 10 that they needed. And because of that, it went into the market, went viral, shut everyone's computers down, And now CrowdStrike is the bad guy. So that is a horizontal impact. I have one more example, and I can't help myself. If it's 92 degrees here in France today, which is fine, I think, except for France doesn't have AC, right? We're sans AC. It's not natural, right? So let's imagine, this is why this image is in my head. If a marketer is working and the business, the temperature in the building, the AC breaks down and it goes from a cool, whatever it is, 90 or 72 degrees, but it breaks during summer in Texas or in Paris today. And so the building rises to 95 degrees internally, and the entire staff has to go home. It's not the facility director, it's the facility director's business problem. It's not the marketer's business problem, but it's an impact that happened to the marketer because they had to send all their entire team home. So they lost a day of productivity, which is okay, I guess, but they had a massive launch coming up. So the launch is messed up the next day because they had to send everyone home because of the business problem of the facility director. So even if it's horizontal pain, you know, when I ask SDR leaders, I'm like, what's the quota? They're like 10 meetings on 10. I'm like, if you don't, or 8 meetings on 10. I don't ask them the self-diagnosis question, what's the impact to your sales team? Because then it's based on what they know. But if I simply ask them the question of, if you don't mind me asking, what's your sales team quota? So they're at 8 business meetings on 10, or they're at 5 business meetings on 10. Not too bad, not horrible. But then I'm like, what's the AE's quota? Oh, they're supposed to book 1 million a year. And I'm like, and where are they at right now? Like 200K. I'm like, yeah, the VP of sales wants you dead. I just found an impact that they didn't know about, right? And how I found it out, I can't ask someone, what do you not know? Right? I have to ask a certain amount of questions to diagnose something they didn't know. So let's assume, in this case example, what if they didn't know that? And I'm like, oh, they're at 200K versus 1 million. There's a massive horizontal impact. So you might not get fired because you're 8 meetings to 10, but you're going to get fired because the VP of sales is putting so much heat on you because they're behind their quota and you are one of the components of that and the main culprit that needs to be expunged. So horizontal impact across the team can be huge. Okay, we're going to go into lap 4 and then we're going to close out for today. So this is lap 4 and this is vertical impact. So the first one's persona. How has it affected them in their personal life or their current role or department? The second is horizontal. How does the business problem affect the teams that are lateral to them? And the last one is vertical impact. So vertical impact is how does the business problem that they're having affect their leaders? So as a reminder, if any of these get high enough, it doesn't matter if I don't have a persona impact, but I have a massive horizontal impact, that will become a driving impact, meaning it'll mobilize them to buy. A vertical impact in this case, so let's keep going with the SDR example. They are behind their booked meetings quota by 3 meetings to 10. Their leader is the CRO. The horizontal impact is the AEs are at 200K on a 1 million quota, and customer success is they have a quota of upsell and cross sell of 500K, and they've only booked 100 because they don't have fresh clients. How would that affect the CRO? What number is the CRO measured on, and how would them being behind their booked meeting quota from 3 to 10 affect their leadership is the question. Let's see if Kirsten can double down here. Mari, James, Justin. Honestly, I think I'm just going to get y'all gold medals. Send them to you in the mail. So the question is, they're behind 3 meetings to 10 meetings as the SDR. So how would that affect their boss? What number is their boss as the CRO measured on? Head's gonna roll. Kirsten just, you know, she just pulled the rug out from underneath. Head's gonna roll. Justin nailed it. They're not hitting their revenue target. So, and that's a combination of things that are impacts that are happening because of one business problem. So missing the revenue target. So to size up what this business or what this vertical impact is, lose funding. Look at James of like, they're behind their revenue target. They're behind their growth target. So they're trying to raise another round and they can't. So they're not necessarily that high. It depends on where they're at in the organization. But to his point, if it's a CRO and they're answering to the CEO, then I would buy, and it depends on what stage they are and how much cash flow they have and runway they have, then I would buy, these are the kind of questions that I should be asking. But if I'm, let's say, a student and and my business problem is I'm at a 2.0 GPA and I need to get to a 3.0 GPA before graduation. My leading indicator is right now I have a D in this class and I want to get a B in this class. And the root cause that I'm changing is the amount that I study. So the business problem, the root cause is the amount. I'm going to go from 2 hours to 10 hours of studying. The leading indicator is I need to go from a D to a B for that class. And the business problem is that I go from a 2.0 GPA to a 3.0 GPA before graduation. My question is not what happens to that person. My question is the business problem is, the tactical problem is I'm at a D and I need to get to a B in this class. Let's say it's Dr. Dover's class. Shout out Dr. Dover, University of Texas, North Dallas. How might me being at a D in his class affect Dr. Dover? Not me as the person, but how might it affect him if I'm at a D? So I'm taking his class, not doing that hot, haven't been studying, haven't been doubling down, haven't been reading, any of the books, haven't been showing up to class. How might my score of a D affect vertical? So in this case, it would be Dr. Dover. What is he metriced on as a professor? And how might me being in a D grade affect him as a quote unquote persona? Let's see if anyone can get into the chat and take a guess. So regardless of who the persona is, in terms of level and in terms of role, discipline, there you go. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but I think I might have to. It's Gianluca and Justin both nailed it. They're measured on class success. The amount, Mari nailed it. The amount of, the amount of students that are passing the class, the amount of students that are making it to the national sales competition, the amount of, GPA, on and on and on. So Dr. Dover actually told me a very interesting stat that the higher the grade the student gets, they actually rank that teacher more successfully, give them a higher grade because they have to give feedback. So 2 of the metrics that they're metriced on is what is the feedback in the class? What does the class give them as a professor? And how many people pass the class and by how much? So those 2 metrics are different. And that's going to be a vertical impact. So if me missing from a D to a B affects Dr. Dover and he dips under a certain amount of people who are passing the class, then that's going to put enough pressure where Dr. Dover is really going to care about me going from a D to a B. If my CRO is behind, they need to be at 20 million, they're only at 2 million, they're really going to care about how many meetings that I am booking. So if that tipping point gets high enough, the focus comes to me. So my point here is I don't ask them when I'm going after an unknown, what's the impact to you? I say, what's your CRO metric goal and where are they so far, and see how big that space is. That is lap 4. So in summary, and then we're going to close out. Y'all make this process, and I'm being genuine here, really fun. You really do. Mari, Gianluca, Justin, James, everyone, Kirsten, everyone that's dinging in here, you'll make this process really, really fun. I mean that. But the punchline is this: the value that you add as a seller is down to the amount of things that you find for that buyer that they didn't know. So I have a French professor, a coach that comes over for 2 hours a day. And one of the most valuable things that he did for me is our first session. He said, I just want you to talk for 2 hours. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, especially for an introvert. So I started talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And I had self-studied French for about 5 months for 2 hours a day. So I learned quite a bit of vocabulary, but I couldn't understand why people couldn't really understand me and why I couldn't really understand people. So when I'm going off on these monologues, he was like, explain some things. So today I had to explain indicators and business problems. That first day, when I was going off for a very long time, he said, okay, can you stop for a second? He said, I want you to read this sentence for me right here. And I went into the sentence and I pronounced Q-U-E. I said K. And he said, say this word again. I said K. He said, say this word again. I said day. It was D-E. So Spanish was my minor. I studied Italian for a couple of years. That's how you read that. And he said, I'll never forget this. In a very nice way, he goes, no. He said, que, et de. And I'm like, oh. So he found something that I believed, that it was K and day, and it was preventing me from understanding people and preventing other people from understanding me. That made me believe in that moment that he was the coach for me, that he could find things that I didn't know about that were hurting me. So I imagine that day, what if he had walked in and just said, what are you pronouncing incorrectly? I don't know. That's why I hired you. I studied for 5 months. So there's a lot of mispronounced vocabulary. For the eel form, the ENT is silent for verbs. I didn't know that. Why? I would hope it's not because I'm dumb. It's because I'm not French. I wasn't born here. I didn't know that I was saying it completely incorrectly. So my push to you today is your buyers, when you find something that they didn't know, when you find a persona impact that they didn't know, when you find a vertical impact that they didn't know, when you find a horizontal impact that they didn't know, my response to that moment was I was unbelievably thankful. I bought a month worth of sessions that day, and that was just a trial run, because almost not as a thank you, sort of. I loved buying from him, but it was like, I believe that he can help me solve my problem of not being able to speak and understand fluently. So when you're with your buyers, ask the questions. Can you say the sentence for me? Find the things that they don't know that are really hurting them down the road. And I promise you, the air will become so sweet and they will trust you, because they should, because you have an expertise that is, simply put, something that they don't possess themselves. So that is it for today. Thank you so much to everyone for coming in. This was day 5 of the Jeux Olympiques du Monde. Tune in tomorrow. It's going to be day 6. So if you thought we were done, we are definitely not done. We have 17 days of this. Tomorrow is a very heated topic, very discussed topic, but I've never heard the counter. It is something I'm very passionate about. So this is going to be the topic tomorrow: is what is the difference between status quo and indecision? Which techniques will actually hurt you instead of help you? and how to basically sell based on what to find instead. So that is everything for today. Thank you so much, Kirsten, James, Justin, everyone for coming on the chat today, for being so active. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day for whoever it's morning, and wonderful rest of your afternoon for everyone who's tuning in from the European crowd. So as always, toujours, I'm going to say, be cheesy and un petit peu plus foncé as we go here. And I'm going to say au revoir pour maintenant. Merci pour tout. And I will, à bientôt, à demain, au revoir. C'est tout. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming today.